this morning.
He told me for the first time
For the first time.
So as much as the compliment
is this?
felt good, the insult hurt worse.
I'm usually not that impressed, but it doesn't matter. Mrs. Will Kane and Mama Will Kane, who I had the pleasure of meeting. His mother's a very, very beautiful lady. I can't believe you're her son. But I got to tell you something.
So mean.
I mean, it's so. I mean, there's no question.
Like Anthony Davis, she laid out my outfit for me this morning.
How about that?
Stephen A., we can't start off the show with one just full nice compliment for Will just to start the show.
He looks dapper.
I'll take it. All right. Well, that's where it'll end. All right, we're starting off. Yesterday began the era of life without Luck for the Colts. Many feel Andrew Luck was within his right to choose, as he said, himself after years of a cycle of injury, pain, and rehab. This is an absolutely understandable choice. But was Luck's decision fair to the Colts organization and fan base? Yesterday, his coach and teammates responded.
Someone asked me a question the other day. Is there any sense that you felt like Andrew is letting down the team? And the answer was an emphatic no.
I was shocked. Which I'm sure everybody is. Y'all wouldn't be here if y'all weren't shocked either. But I was shocked. And then, we had a long conversation, and it was just, some emotions obviously going back and forth. But, when you sit down and you talk to him and you understand, his decision.
That's my best friend. So, we're always going to be together, stick together to the end. And, unfortunately, he had to go out his way. And, I was happy for him.
Now, Will, we know players, coaches, they're going to get in front of the media and say the right things. But honestly, do his former teammates, those players, have a right to be angry with Luck?
Angry? Yes, I think they do. I doubt that they are. I imagine they're more disappointed. Look, we can do this. We can do two things at the same time. We can respect this man's individual decision. I like the way you said it, Roz. We can understand Andrew Luck's decision. But that doesn't mean others can't have feelings about it. And there are some very rational feelings to be had. I've heard several in the last couple of days say things that I don't understand. That Andrew Luck's decision was courageous. That's what Aaron Rodgers had to say. Most in the media are describing it as brave in some way. I also don't understand that. Andrew Luck's decision is his own, and I will respect it and understand it. But on the other hand, Andrew Luck made an individual decision, Stephen A., inside of a team sport. His decision affects other people. T.Y. Hilton has been on that team for 8 years. He's 29 years old. Margus Hunt is 32 years old. There are guys on that team who have been on the squad waiting for their moment, and guess when the moment was? It's now. It's very, very reasonable to assume not just that the Colts were Super Bowl contenders this season, but that Andrew Luck was on the doorstep of the best 3 years of his career. Finally showing us what we all expected he would become. Finally validating that concept that he's a generational quarterback. And that, 2 weeks before the season, is when he chooses to walk away. That's fine. That's his choice. But make no mistake, it affects other people. And if they are upset, I think that also would be understandable.
Well, listen, I personally think that he should have, it would have been, I brought this up yesterday, it would have been good if he could have retired earlier. Like Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson in July. Calvin Johnson actually retired in March, and Barry Sanders and Jim Brown retired in July. That would have been nice. But when we talk about whether or not they'd have the right to be upset, I would say no, only for this reason. When you look at this squad, when you look at this roster, first of all, you were 4-12 without him a couple of years ago. He comes back last year. Y'all handle y'all business. Y'all get into the postseason. You get into the divisional playoff round. He's a comeback player of the year, 39 touchdowns, 4,593 yards passing. We saw all the things that he did. But what do football players consistently talk about? Next man up. That's what they talk about. And when you take that into consideration, along with the fact that he had been around you. It wasn't like he disappeared and he was home and you didn't know what the hell was going on. It wasn't like you had guys texting him and emailing him or whatever the case may be and saying, what the hell is up? What you doing? What you going to do? Et cetera, et cetera. He was around this team constantly. And being around them, communicating with them, engaging in dialogue with them literally being eyewitnesses to his struggles. That does play a role. It does play a factor. If one of us are working together each day and then all of a sudden we call it quits, but we've been around each other every day, that's entirely different than if I'm not seeing you and I'm expecting you to be here. And then all of a sudden we get news that you ain't coming back. There's a difference to it in terms of how it's handled from the outside. I believe the fans are perfectly within their right to feel what they feel because they're not inside. It was just dropped on them. Obviously, they were looking forward to this season. But Jacoby Brissett has been practicing with the first team for weeks. The assumption was Andrew Luck, regardless of what he was saying, wasn't going to be available for week 1. The assumption was, based on his history, that these injuries had been lingering. From what I've been told, he certainly wasn't shy about communicating that reality to the players. And I think the reason why you see a lot of them saying the right things is because they don't feel blindsided by what he did. So they're aware that he had been struggling.
Let me get this straight. You think the fans have a right to be upset because they're not privy to all the information inside the building, but the players don't have a right to be upset because they've seen everything that's gone on behind the scenes.
Correct.
Let me build on your analogy. If we were doing this, and I had seen everything you were struggling with and everything that was holding you back or that you wanted to overcome, and one day you up and quit this show or you quit a partnership that I had with you kind of out of the blue, maybe I saw some of the struggle, but as early as 2 weeks ago, you were saying, I'm set to have this be the best season of First Take yet. We're going to blow the ratings through the roof. Mm-hmm. And Andrew Luck said that 2 weeks ago to Peter King. I'm going to be ready for week 1, and we're ready to go for the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. If you had done that, yeah, I would feel abandoned. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and by the way, I think the analogy is perfect because it's not just next man up, all right? You're the star of this show. Andrew Luck is the foundation of the Indianapolis Colts. It's not so easy as next man up.
But remember,
he is everything that organization is built around, the same way you are what this show is built around. If you dropped out on a moment's notice, you're darn right everybody involved in the show would
absolutely.
Be like, what happened?
Totally fair. But keep in mind what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I don't believe that was the case with the team because Coach Frank Reich, GM Chris Ballard, all of these guys said they had been having these conversations with Andrew Luck spanning weeks and that they were not as surprised as people would believe because they sort of sensed that it was coming. So that ultimately raised up, blew a light bulb in my head. Like, wait a minute now, this wasn't a surprise to a lot of these guys. And that's where I give Andrew Luck credit. We saw him right. Even on the day that he retired.
Yes.
How did he get booed? Because he was on the field. Mm-hmm. He was on the field with his team. Even as the announcement came down that he was retiring, he still showed up for a preseason game with them on the sideline. So when you look at it from that perspective, people were not shell-shocked. They were disappointed because obviously he's a stud and you know what he's capable of doing when he's out on the field. But they did not feel betrayed and they did not feel blindsided. And covering football as we have, as a radio host, as television and radio host, and a reporter for 25 years, we have seen situations where guys have been absolutely positively shell-shocked by the decisions their contemporaries make. That was not the case with the Indianapolis coach, which is why I say that I take their position. They should not be that upset.
Stephen A., even if they had weeks of notice and conversation around this decision, what about the years of financial investment of strategy, investment of building a roster around a player that was supposed to be an era led by Andrew Luck, on top of the community investment by fans? I mean, certainly it's different than the weeks of notice.
The fans are a different subject.
Okay.
The fans are a different subject.
What about the financial and strategic
But in terms of the organization,
investment?
let me be very clear. I don't give a damn.
Oh, Stephen A.
Let me tell you why.
Oh, Stephen A. Her
that's
question
fair.
is perfect.
No, I didn't complain about the question. I just gave
I'm
you an
complaining
answer.
about the answer. I'm complaining about the answer.
Exactly. I didn't complain about the question, Will. I'm just saying that this is my answer. I don't give a damn in this regard. As they're planning and they're formulating a plan and putting everything in play, let's keep in mind that these organizations pull quick hooks all the time. Players talk about that constantly. Again, if Andrew Luck had left them in the dark, y'all have an argument. They're saying he didn't leave us in the dark. They're saying that.
I understand what you're saying. Your entire opinion is that you believe, did not blindside them.
He didn't blindside them.
He was giving them
That's
notice
what they say.
that this could be happening.
I don't know. That's
you.
what they say.
I would just say this,
Right.
that I like Roz's question because what has happened, I don't think T.Y. Hilton is holding a grudge today against Andrew Luck. I think that's his guy, and I think he respects him and loves him. Mm-hmm. And I think most of the players in that locker room feel exactly the same way. What I'm saying is, at this moment, when their Super Bowl contention, when their Super Bowl hopes have been dashed, and not just that, but their 10-year plan, to your point, Roz, the foundation of the franchise goes up in smoke in a matter of minutes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have a right to feel a little bit upset.
And my response to you would be, A team this good, your offensive line is stout. T.Y. Hilton, you acquired Devin Funchess. Ebron's your tight end. Marlon Mack is a pretty damn good running back. Offensively, you're still considered to be formidable, and your defense is expected to be even better than expected. So when you look at it from that perspective, let's understand something. They're not thinking like you will. They don't think their season's over.
We'll get to that. How about that?
They think they can make some noise. We'll see.
Let's get into that.
Well, I'm sure T.Y. Hilton has something to consider with Andrew Luck. 34 of his 40 career touchdowns were thrown by Luck. Absolutely, his success was intertwined by the talent of Andrew Luck. We'll see what happens there. All right, moving along. The 51st U.S. Open. You see Naomi Osaka warming up. She plays at noon. The Open continues today on ESPN after the noon matches at 7 Eastern. It's our primetime coverage highlighted by Rafael Nadal and Sloane Stephens matches. A lot more to come on First Take, including a roundtable discussion on the state of the NBA 5 years removed from the Donald Sterling controversy. Stephen A., what else you got?
A lot more to come on First Take. How realistic is it for Zeke to be a Cowboy for life? Plus,